know.
All right, Jesse Ventura's new book, They Killed Our President, 63 Reasons to Believe There Was a Conspiracy to Assassinate JFK. Now, I know a lot about this because I knew Jim Garrison well, the district attorney in New Orleans who tried Clay Shaw. He showed me a lot of evidence that was not introduced. I've always had an open mind on this. When did you begin to question this?
Well, I was 12 years old when President Kennedy was murdered, and then, unfortunately for me at that age, about a year and a half later, Ed Sullivan had on the Beatles, and the world changed for all us teenagers, the Beatles and the Stones. So I paid no attention until I actually got out of the military, and I went to 1 year of junior college, and while I was at junior college, Mark Lane came there and spoke, and I listened to him. And that's when I dawned on me, you mean, wait a minute, there's people that are saying it isn't what the government said? You know, there's people out there questioning the Warren Commission.
Mort Saul.
Exactly. And so what really did it, believe it or not, was pro wrestling. In the mid-1980s, wrestling had already been 26 regional territories where you drove to the towns. When Vince McMahon took it national with cable TV, all of a sudden we're no longer driving to towns, we're flying all over the country. Well, Larry, you know as well as I do, when you fly a lot, there's a lot of dead time. You sit in airports, you sit on planes. So I, at that point, started reading every book I could get my hands on the Kennedy killing, because to me, it was way more intriguing than reading Vince Flynn or Clancy or any of them, because their work is just their imagination and fiction based on what may be somewhat truthful on that. But this is real life, where the characters are real in this. Everything really happened. And I found the Kennedy killing to be so intriguing, all the different aspects of behind the scenes of what went on, that I read every book I could get my hands on. And the reason I wrote this book, Larry, is really I wrote this for personal reasons. And that's this: for whatever it's worth, 100 years from now, when I'm gone, I want the world to know that the 38th governor of Minnesota did not believe the Warren Commission and did not believe what the government said in the murder of our president.
Why would all those distinguished members, some pretty good, Gerald Ford was a hell of a nice guy, I knew him. Why would those distinguished members of the Warren Commission rush to judgment?
I'm not sure that they rushed to judgment.
Oh, they came out pretty fast.
Right, but I think there was evidence kept being withheld from them by the FBI. If the evidence didn't go to Oswald, the Warren Commission never saw it. And one case in point, Mr. Newman, who I met during my TV show, he's the guy you'll see on the Zapruder film lying on the ground covering his children. He was physically the closest man to the fatal headshot. Eyewitness, saw the whole thing. The Warren Commission never even talked to him, he told me.
He said it came from the knoll, right?
He said it came over his shoulder, which was behind the knoll.
You admit Oswald was shooting?
No.
Oh, well, then you're wrong.
No.
Okay.
I don't necessarily, because I don't think no, I'm not wrong.
Well, let me bring you up something.
I'll cover it here. He could not make it to the lunchroom and buy a Coke in the length of time before the officer and the building guy got in there.
Explain this to me.
And there was a witnesses.
I just explained this one thing to me.
All right.
I interviewed the policeman who arrested Oswald in the movie theater after Tippit. You agreed he shot Tippit?
No.
You don't think? Okay.
No. You know why I don't agree that? Wait, let me explain. There were shell casings on the ground there. Oswald was picked up with a revolver. You're saying he shot Tippit, emptied his shells by the body, and then ran?
Right.
He was shot with an automatic, not a revolver.
To tell you one thing and then you respond, because I'm going to back you in certain ways here, but this is something where I'm involved a little.
All right.
I interviewed the police sergeant who arrested Oswald in the movie theater.
In the movie theater.
And Oswald said only one thing in the drive down to the police station, and he said it twice. I'm a patsy. I'm a patsy. If you're a patsy, that means you were set up, you were somehow involved. Jim Garrison told me there was a guy hired to fly a plane into Dallas to pick up someone who fit the description of Oswald and fly him out of the country. That man never showed up. What does he mean by patsy?
Well, what he means by patsy...
Why does he mean by patsy?
Oswald was involved in our intelligence community. And Oswald, when he got picked up, I think he knew why he was getting picked up out of it, because... Okay, let me say this to you, Larry.
Patsy's an interesting word. It's not saying I'm innocent.
Wait. Yeah, a patsy. Exactly. That means I'm being set up here.
Right.
That's not a normal response from somebody.
Well, I think he meant he was supposed to be picked up by a car, and he wasn't.
Let's talk about the movie theater, okay? All they knew was that a guy went in that theater and didn't buy a ticket. Because no, a guy across the street saw him sneak in the side and go in, and he called the police. Now imagine you're the police dispatcher. That's all they know. The president was killed an hour ago. Officer Tippett was killed roughly a half hour ago. You get a call about a guy at the afternoon matinee at the Texas Theater doesn't buy a ticket. Yet what was sent there? 10 squad cars, 24 cops and the news media to film it for a guy who didn't buy a ticket to get in. That's all they knew.
I don't think they ever filmed him coming out of the theater.
Yes, they do.
I never saw that. Yeah.
Oh, I've seen it. They're loading him in. They got cameras, the TVs right there. 10 squad cars and 24 cops for a guy who didn't. Oswald was going there to meet his handler.
Okay, this is good television. Now I'm going to back you up in a certain way. A man that was laughed at, made fun of, and mocked was the medical examiner of Dallas, who chased the car carrying the body. Because at the time Kennedy was shot, the shooting of a president was not a federal crime.
Exactly.
And the medical examiner needed the body because he had to do an autopsy, find out the cause of death.
Texas law.
Okay. He's running, chasing the limo. They're all laughing at him. They made fun of him. Yet I was told by 3 different people, including a former Attorney General of the United States, that that guy was right.
Absolutely.
Because you couldn't have tried Lee Harvey Oswald, because the first person to testify would have been the medical examiner, and he never got to examine the body, which was flown to Washington. Correct?
Yep. Now I'll give you another one.
See, I noticed, folks.
The car was a crime scene, correct? The president was murdered in the car?
Correct.
Lyndon Johnson immediately sent the crime scene to Michigan, obstructing justice. Forensic was never allowed to look at the car.
You don't think Johnson was part of the conspiracy, do you?
Absolutely.
You do?
Yep. With the meeting that took place with Clint Murchison, Edgar Hoover, J. Edgar Hoover, his lifetime mistress, Madeline Brown, stated she was there when Johnson came out. He grabbed her hand and said, "After tomorrow, those Kennedy boys will never bother me again." It's all in this book.
I never heard that.
Oh,
Did she testify to the Warren Commission?
No. Nope. Warren Commission didn't want anybody that told a different story.
We'll come down to the final thing on this book.
All right.
Who conspired to kill him?
Well, that's the difficult question in 50 years. Let's just put it this way. Jack Kennedy made a lot of enemies. He made enemies of the military-industrial complex because he would not invade Cuba, which they wanted to do, and he was going to pull us out of Vietnam. So that's 2 wars that Kennedy was going to head off that we weren't going to be part of. That ticked them off. He was going to take away the oil depletion allowance, which is where all these oil guys make their real money, not having to pay taxes, because Kennedy couldn't figure out how a guy like H.L. Hunt could make $30 million a year and not pay any taxes. So he was going to get, so that got the oil people angry at him. He was the first president to bring in civil rights and equality.
But Johnson passed it.
Right, but Kennedy started it all. And so that ticked off the South.
So who killed him?
And he also, after the Bay of Pigs, said he was going to break the CIA into 1,000 pieces, and he fired their top 3 guys, Allen Dulles. So the CIA was pissed at him. Kennedy had more enemies within his administration than he had in the rest of the world or the Soviets. He was actually, do you know he was back channel communicating with Nikita Khrushchev, and they were going to end the Cold War by 65?
I never heard that.
Oh, reading my book.
I'm going to read it. After the fact, though, anything can come up with a conspiracy. Like Obama is hated today. He gets more death, right away, a Secret Service guy told me. They get more death threats for Obama than all presidents combined. They deal with it every day. Yeah. So if he's killed, you're going to have a conspiracy of who? You know what I mean? Well, it's so easy to come up with this, Jesse.
Yeah, but when you come up with a patsy like Oswald, Larry, he couldn't make the shots. Impossible. I show in the book, not only could I not do it, we recreated it on my show, and we didn't even have moving target with that piece of junk weapon of his. I couldn't make them. Not only we cover Carlos Hathcock, who is considered the greatest sniper in the United States Marine Corps, the head instructor at the Quantico Marine Sniper School. They reset up the whole thing. He couldn't do it.
I'll tell you,
Oswald, when you go into the military, they give you batteries of tests because the military's not stupid.
He was a marksman.
No, he wasn't.
He had a marksman medal.
That's the lowest you can be.
Okay, I got a break. I got to run.
That's the lowest.
I want to tell you one thing, Jesse. There are two truths in life. You are never dull. And two, I can't wait to read this book, and I can't wait till you're part of Aura.
Well, I think you're going to really enjoy the chapter on Dorothy Kilgallen.
I knew her well. Jesse Ventura, the book They Killed Our President. This has been another edition of Politicking with Larry King. I'll see you next time.